January 16th, 2025 Airport Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mike Goff,
Here.
Mike Thomason. Here. Joel Gardner,
Here.
Jim Ulmer,
Here.
Steve Smith. Cameron McGarren,
Here.
Greg Collier.
Here. All right, so we obviously didn't meet last month, so we'll go back to our November 21st meeting for approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to go through those? Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Thank you. Comments from the audience? Don't look like we have anyone in the audience. We'll forego that. Daniel, go ahead and come on up and get started. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again. So quick rundown on our numbers. You've got November to December numbers. So November's numbers are right here. December, the change that we saw from that. And then at the bottom of the sheet is kind of the biggest thing for us year over year, starting with 2020. And the growth that we've seen simply from a fueling standpoint, how many gallons we've moved, that's both jet fuel and avgas. So huge growth. Of course, the 2021 coming off of COVID, it was just a busy year, kind of making up for the deficit there. But 23 to 24, that 12% jump, that was significant for us. That really helped us out. And I was talking to Mark the other day. We were really starting to feel it operationally, and with the amount of line guys that we've got and CSRs, like that was pushing us. So we're going to start looking at a few changes into this next year as far as safety, training, the number of personnel we have, what that's going to look like going forward with this increase in base aircraft. I know that with the new hangars coming up, I've got the people building those hangars are asking me about finding tenants to sublease and help them with that, which is just going to mean more aircraft. Of course, we've got the list of all the piston aircraft, but a lot of the guys that I know are turbine and jet and things like that. So all that to say, I think 2025 is going to be busy as well. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it will be busy. Not much of an update as far as the construction of the lounge over in Hangar 11. Took December off, really, and so we didn't really touch those. I know, Greg, you got to see the rooms. They're looking really nice. And if you've been up to the lounge, like I was telling him, we're going to try and mirror what we did in the lounge as far as services, different things that are available in there. Please come by and check it out. It's looking really good. Nothing significant as far as operations. The snow's kind of put us back just this month a little bit. We ran into some snow and broke some wheel pants the other day, so that one kind of hit us. But it's just, snow sucks at the airport. Trying to make phone calls, to the guys that we connected with the military, letting them know that, hey, is there anything that Summit, ARH, I talked to Cameron about this the other day, can help you with? You got any questions? If you ever do, just reach on out to us. We'd love to help them out. I haven't heard anything, so I don't know if anybody else has any news, but eager to hear something since it's the first of the year now. Other than that, the only other thing is Cameron and I have been talking on and off about looking at security going forward in the future. A few months ago, Alan, James's employee out there, he had his tires, somebody punctured all 4 of his tires at the airport, on airport property. It was his personal vehicle. And then when the military was in, James and I went out. A pilot told us that there was somebody looking at the gate, gauging it, putting their foot underneath it, just kind of, we weren't real comfortable with it. By the time we got out there, he was gone, but it looked like he was really trying to gauge the amount of space. What would it take to get across that? I don't know. It didn't sit well with us. So Cameron and I wanted to mention that to the commission if you guys want to have any conversations about it.
So question on that.
Yeah.
Did we ask him any questions? Does he have a disgruntled ex or anything like that could have done it? Or
I don't know. There was no, he tried to find some camera footage, but he just couldn't get anything. So it was a bunch of big question marks at the end of it.
Just seems random that one car would get 4 tires punctured.
I told him I thought it was pretty well targeted. I don't know, just because of the way it ended up happening. But That's really all I know about it. Yeah, is there any other questions? Anything about operations?
Question, do you have cameras on the gates?
No, I don't have any cameras on any gates. All my cameras are directly on the terminal and in one of my hangars. Nothing points to the gates.
So one thing to mention in all this, just we have had some situations, but if we get the military at our airport and they choose our airport, we're going to have to really consider some changes in our security around the airport. And we are seeing more activity out there. You guys can see that from the fuel cells. But, in my humble opinion, there's, just from me being out there and seeing people coming in and out of those gates all the time, I'm not 100% sure every one of those cars coming in and out of there are people that are actually tenants. And so that concerns me too, because there's a lot of flight operations going on at our airport. It's increasingly getting busier, and as it gets busier and we have more people coming in and out of those gates, it poses a safety issue, right? No matter if Alan got his tire slashed or if we saw somebody, walking around the gates and trying to find secret ways to get into the gates. But as we get more traffic out there, safety becomes a concern, especially on my side of the fence. And so I know they're not real secure. It's just a punch code, and that punch code could be given out to just about anybody. I know we've got barbed wire around most of our fencing, but we don't on the northeast side as well. So some of those types of things are, just kind of rattling around in my head in regards to our safety around the airport.
I will give one more example today, actually, and this individual showed up over the weekend, said that they were there, that a prominent, famous actor was coming to pick them up, adamant. This was happening 100%, and we weren't real comfortable with, we could see right through that. We don't know what the true intentions were, but they were sticking around. They were certain this was all going to happen, but they were wandering around. Of course, do anything you want in a terminal, but if you walk out onto the ramp, then a bunch of red flags start popping up. So just trying to be privy to any sort of attitudes or expectations from the public that are less than friendly. This one is fine. We just kind of keep an eye on them, but somebody might not be one day.
There we go. That goes back to the issue of parking inside the fence, then. We're gonna have to make some adjustments and changes there, because you just can't let people at random park inside that gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not being able to see the gates from or anywhere in the terminal. One of my concerns when this individual left, I didn't know why they left. Did they leave to go follow a car in? So we kind of walk around for a little bit just to make sure that didn't actually happen. But, just don't know.
So at what point in time do we go ahead and start taking requests for proposals for security system cameras, that type of thing?
We have cameras on the tower that covers 3 of the 4 gates, or 2 of the 3 gates. I can't see Powell Street.
Are they good enough to be able to pick up a license plate number?
Yeah, the old camera just went out, so this is a brand new system.
Could we add the Powell Street, since that seems to be the one that's not covered right now?
Well, the problem is internet out there. But I can have IT look to see if they can get something out there.
So I was going to say, how do we resolve that? Surely we've got somebody in the city that could resolve that for us.
Well, that's what trying to get internet to Matt's office over there was a pain, because he's in that hangar. So, one that's quality enough to get a good picture of, but I'll see if they've upgraded their system yet.
So other than that, what thoughts do we have? I mean, cameras are great. We can catch somebody after the fact, but how do we keep it from happening to begin with?
Would you consider changing the gate code periodically, like every 3 months or every 6 months, giving it to tenants? It would limit the other people that got the code.
We've done that. We do change it, but you're going to upset a lot of people if you start switching it every 3 months or so.
We get some customers that come up once every 3 months.
Yeah. We have explored those key cards before. I remember that,
Card reader.
yeah, those key cards. I can't remember what the cost of those were, but you know, maybe that's something we need to look into again, maybe?
Seems like they were expensive, but weren't we gonna pass that on to the individuals to help cover the cost of that? Isn't that what we had discussed? Seems like that was the case. Who could look into that for us? Who looked in that last time, you know?
We can get Matt to get quotes on what it'd cost to swap them out.
Yeah, Laura looked into it last time, so I'm sure she's got all the documentation, I would
was
assume.
thinking it was like 7,000 to 12,000, something like that, so we can get some new quotes.
Yeah, but it'll let you know who comes in, who goes out, and what time they came in, and what time they left, and
Right. And
you
if you
got
have
a lot
tenants
more.
that move out, you can just cancel their cards and get new ones.
I think I'd be better going that option, or we could do both, obviously, but to me, that's a better beginning plan than just getting another camera set up out there.
What are your thoughts about having something a little bit more formal of like a risk assessment actually done for the airport rather than us just hoping we're covering? Because there may be some groups out there that we could hire that could come in and tell us where our vulnerabilities are and then how to fix those things.
I like that. Almost like an IT assessment kind of thing.
Well, it's
In
real
my old
simple
life.
to know your vulnerabilities, it's your gates. You've got all that through the fence on the opposite side over there that Matt patrols them, but it just takes one to leave their gate open. So, and then our tenants drive through the gate, and we have signs up that says, wait till the gate closes, and they'll drive right on off, and anybody can drive back in. Doesn't matter if they have a key card or not. So it's all our people that is our vulnerability. We're 100% fenced. So if you can't get a person to sit there and wait for the gate to close, key cards really don't mean any good. Because I see it all the time. Someone will drive out, they don't wait for the gate to close, somebody will follow right in with the gate open.
And then, of course, that takes me back to the conversation of no parking inside the gate.
Agreed.
I really think we're gonna have, you know, as we see the airport getting used and used and used more and more and more, and there's more traffic there, and, you know, more aircraft coming in and out, you know, these are things that are gonna be of topic moving forward. I really think they are. Do I know what the solution is? No, I don't, but I think we definitely need to start thinking about it, for sure.
What do other airports do? What's Drake Field like, or Bentonville, Rogers?
Last time I was in Drake, they're key cards only, if I remember. Is that right? They've got that.
I'm not sure. Bentonville isn't even fully fenced.
Yeah, so
That's a
neither is
different
Siloam.
ballgame.
What about Rogers? I haven't been to Rogers in a long time.
They're fully fenced, but I don't know about access. I know to get out to the ramp, you have to be cleared by the person at the front desk.
I know Siloam has got the key cards because I've got a key card to Siloam's airport.
It's been several years ago, we had some discussion about people jumping the fence and running across. Does that happen anymore? We still have kids?
Haven't had it happen in a while that we saw.
We've done some work over on that, on the east side there that may have closed some of those gaps that they had. I think maybe it was that the creek going through there, they could get up under really easily, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of anything like that in a while.
So thinking outside of any other box, what about a controlled access position inside the FBO that has cameras on the gates? The only way to get in is a push button on the inside of the FBO itself.
That's what we had in Texarkana, and we had a pretty good view of the gate. Here, you'd have to have monitors installed so that you could see who's at the gate, and they buzz, they say who they are. And the same thing going out to the ramp. Of course, it was required in Texarkana with the airlines, but you know, we had eyes on every exit to the ramp from the building. But I mean, it could be done. And honestly, I'd say 25% of my corporate customers coming in expect us to have to buzz them out because that's what they're used to. And they're surprised when we tell them, just head on out, you're good to go.
What do you do on after hours?
After hours, it would be a call-out service, so we'd be there anyway. Or if they don't need us, they wouldn't have access to the terminal, but they'll have access to the overnight lounge. And so they'll have the code to that, so it won't matter at all to get back out to the airport, or back out to the ramp. That would pose an issue, which they could. You almost need like an auxiliary code that you could give to. It's really just medical crew that comes in late overnight. If they had their own specific code to always be able to access for the ambulance or for the crew. That one's a little bit trickier.
I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot more medical transport coming out in and out of our airport than I've ever seen in the past. It's really getting to be busy with that for some reason.
Yeah, as the hospitals really ramp up activity, we're getting more and more. One of the options, I'm not real keen on it, with the overnight lounge, they could leave through the lounge into the hangar, out onto the ramp. I just don't really want people in the hangar, whenever we're not there. It's the biggest issue. Not that I don't trust them, it's just a matter of time before somebody walks into a static wick.
I'd fully support us doing something to improve our security. We shouldn't have neighborhoods that are more secure than our airport. We need to raise that, and we may go 30 years without an incident, but as our usage goes up, that is more and more hard to believe it will happen. So I think we need to do whatever it is. If it's get a risk assessment, I don't know what that looks like, if there's companies that do that. If it's just doing what we feel like, covering gates, I definitely support that and feel like that'd be a wise use of our grants. I have a feeling we'd get support for grants on that because it's a security issue.
Security and safety. Greg, do you know of anybody that does assessments? Not that we want to go crazy with all this by any means, but I'm just kind of curious if you know anybody that does that.
Let me look into that. I'll take that as an action item. I know Garver has done some in the past. I think it's for larger commercial service airports, kind of ones that have airlines. And so let me just make sure that they'd be capable of doing the same thing here. And then if we don't do it, I'll find someone else.
I'm all for moving forward, but let's not blow this too much out of proportion. We've got a fully fenced airport and it's being monitored, so.
We'll get a price to upgrade the keypads to a card reader and see what that runs.
I don't think I've got anything else, unless you have any more questions.
I was going to bring up, you and I discussed perhaps having a meeting at the airport to show off the new facilities and so forth. I don't want to go when it's cold, so maybe we look out to March or April.
Yeah.
Would you be able to, number one, would you be able to get us set up with tables and such to have our meeting there? You could have lunch at the restaurant, maybe catered down to us even, or we could go up and then have our meeting there.
Yeah, no problem. That's easy. I'd go for April if we want to do it. I've got a baby coming in March, so I won't be available. You can still do it. I don't care, but I won't be there.
What's the commission think about that?
Sounds good.
Let's shoot for that.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Then just put it on our schedule for April. Plan ahead that we'll have an April meeting at the airport.
Let's just plan for that. Can you do that for us, Beth? All right. Thank you, Daniel. And Matt, with operations report, please.
Yep, everything at the airport's running smoothly. All the tenants are caught up on their dues. Maintenance-wise, for the snow last week we had, gave us a bit of a challenge, but we got it all cleared off pretty well, I'd say. We haven't had any complaints so far.
And to the contrary, I heard we had a compliment, actually. That you guys have done a great job getting it cleaned up, so
That's good to hear.
kudos
I'm
to
glad
you.
hear. Thank you.
Anything else? James with the activity report.
Like Daniel says, everything's going good, other than snow slowed everybody down. But last year, we set another record for total operations. So again, busiest airport in the state of Arkansas. You can't hardly complain about that. So obviously, we're doing great. Fuel sales is up. I had a call or an email today from Mark Butler. He's from Florida. He's coming up the end of January and wanting to put another flight school and looking to see if we had any office space or anything tie downs, which we're completely full, but he says, I want to come up and tour and meet you anyway. So he's going to be coming in at the end of January. So, and Cameron says they have a flight school up in Kansas City as well. So ATF or ATP flight school.
Do we have a date on the calendar when he's coming?
He said January 24th, that Friday and Saturday.
I'll actually be in Kansas City then. Okay, well, that sounds good. Anything else, James?
That's it.
Greg, Carver update.
All right, let's see if this works this time. Cool. While that's loading, which looks like it's about to switch over, I did pass out two handouts that I'll go over probably at the end of this. First, I'll start with project updates. Looks like you guys got my screen now. So we got 3 active projects at the airport right now, and that I'll go through. First one is the runway rehab, the grooving project, 9010 FAA funded project. If you remember previously, we were kind of talking about how we were going to get this scheduled in the winter season. We have been able to get a confirmed date from the contractor of a start date of March 3rd. That is later than we all wanted. However, that's because their grooving subcontractor is they're out of the Northeast, and so they're traveling all across the country, and they couldn't get them scheduled until March 3rd. And so March 3rd, that is late enough in the season that the one advantage to that is we should be able to just do one shutdown rather than a series of 2 or 3 shutdowns. And so while it is later than, like I said, we had initially wanted, there is a small advantage to being able to just shut it down once and get all of the work done at one time. Any questions about that grooving project, the runway rehab?
We were talking prior to the meeting, I can't remember, how long is it going to take for them to groove that?
So the whole project is 15 nights. However, we're not letting them work on weekends. And so my estimate is it'll probably be about Monday through Thursday for about 2 weeks. And that's based off of conversations I've had with the contractor. So I don't think they'll take the full 15 nights. They'll do probably Monday through Thursday for 2 weeks, and then they'll come back 30 days later and put down the final set of markings. We've got to wait 30 days to put markings, to put our final set of markings down for that seal coat to cure out so that they don't get black markings all over them. So they'll actually mark the runway twice.
So the initial process is grooving and sealing.
Grooving, sealing, installing some initial markings, and then they'll come back 30 days later, install the final markings.
And that's on the calendar as well, coming back 30 days later.
The 30 days, I don't have that date from them, but I can get that from them. But yeah, I'll make sure to get that. Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. The other 2 projects we've got going on, the tower rehabilitation project. This is a 100% funded project to rehab the tower. We are moving on this one as far as getting our documentation and a pre-construction meeting set up. And so the contractor is expecting to be out there sometime later this month, beginning of February to start this work. We're just working on getting his final sub scheduled out there, but this one should move just fine. This one will also have a few different mobilizations where we're going to go in, replace a lot of the cabinetry, replace a lot of the equipment. After that, we'll take a step back, reevaluate how much money we have left over in the grant, and probably mobilize again to do some final items like install a generator, install a security system if our budget allows. The reason we're doing it in 2 separate mobilizations is this tower's old, and so we're not sure what we're going to find after we start ripping cabinets apart. And so I want to make sure we come in under budget and don't go over budget. And so that's why we're kind of doing 2 mobilizations: is get some work done, reevaluate, spend the rest of the money. The last project is the Powell Hangar rehab. This one also had a significant amount of milestones, really since November, since we didn't meet in December. So you can see the left and the right here are just pictures of the hangar and the apron, kind of before we installed asphalt pavement. On the right is after we installed asphalt pavement. You can also see that the hangar doors are on in the right picture. The hangar doors are installed on the hangar. And if you guys are driven by Powell Street, the hangar's pretty much done now. They're doing some final electrical improvements. James was able to send the city's master electrician out there, and he did a really thorough code review on it as well. And so they've still got some work to do, probably 2 or 3 weeks of electrical work to do there to finish up the hangar. And then moving on to water and sewer, that's kind of been the critical path item on this project because we were delayed the longest on that piece of it. But water and sewer has been completely installed. Here are some pictures of the one on the left is them cutting and closing Powell Street while they were working in the road there. And then on the right, you can see the section of water line going past the hangar. And so both water and sewer has been installed. Right now, we're waiting for our final test results to come back. And so we expect to close that part of the project out in about 2 to 3 weeks. Any questions about the Powell Hangar project or really any of the runway or the tower project?
Is the asphalt in front of the hangar, is it all good? I heard a rumor that it's not.
It is, so, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So the asphalt, they installed the asphalt in front of the hangar without scheduling testing of the base beneath it. And that's an issue because if we don't know that the base is good, we can't trust that the asphalt's good. And then also they didn't test the asphalt whenever they installed it. And so we've been back now and taken cores of the asphalt. So the asphalt is in good shape. What we haven't confirmed yet is if the base beneath it is in good shape. And so this week we cut out a small section of the asphalt and we're going to test the base beneath it. My construction observer was out there enough to know that he's confident that the base is there, installed at the right thickness and stuff. But these are boxes that we have to check to keep the FAA happy. And none of this is going to cost the airport extra money. It's all going back on the contractor for negligence to perform that testing, which is required in the contract.
Do you feel like the base is adequate or, okay?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the base. The asphalt was the one I was, my construction observer, he said the base he's not worried about at all. It's the asphalt that he was worried about, but it did pass all the tests, so we can't say anything negative about it now since it passed.
Do we know, why did Olkey not do it to begin with?
Why did they not test it? They thought we were going to test it, and what we had told them is, you're responsible for testing it. We're going to test it after the fact either way. And actually how it happened is they installed the base really months ago now, and the base has been sitting there for quite a while, and we didn't want to test the base until right before they placed the asphalt, and that's because they spend a lot of time putting the building up once the base is there and messing up the base, at least that top lift. And so what we wanted them to do is to come back and smooth roll the base one last time and then call us out there to test it. And so that's the part that was missed, is that they didn't call us out there to test it after they did all of that work. They just went right into paving the asphalt without notifying us. And so that's why those steps were missed. And so we came back, cored the asphalt just like what we would either ways. Asphalt cores passed. And so now I think tomorrow at 1 p.m. is actually when we have the base test.
So the bottom right picture, James, when are we going to pave that? We're going to wait until all it's completed and then put the fencing in and then pave. So are they all working together as far as fencing goes to make sure everything is tied in all the way down?
Right, and so if you remember, I don't know if I have a good exhibit of it, but we actually pulled out all of that fencing. So originally the project, we fenced that whole south side of the hangar. We pulled that part out because it was a $60,000 fence, and we knew that Billy Collins or some of these other hangar developers were going to come in and tear it down in the next year. And so we cut a lot of that out, and what we're going to install in this fence is it's kind of a patchwork of fence. We're installing fence along where the detention pond is, and we're installing fence right next to the city-owned hangar. And what that's doing is going to leave some gaps open for these hangar developers to come in. They can build their hangar without having to tear up any fence, and at the end of their project, they'll finish the security fence. And in the meantime, we'll have a temporary fence up to keep out pedestrian traffic.
What's a temporary fence?
Right now, it's an orange snow fence, so it's really just enough to deter people from thinking that they can get in, but ultimately they can climb over it if they wanted to.
Is the FAA okay with that type of fencing? I'm assuming since you've done this 100 times, probably.
Yeah, the FAA is okay with it as long as the airport's okay with it.
Any questions for Greg?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Scroll down your picture to the hangar, and I think it's that red hillside on the left side.
Sorry,
So,
say it.
was that tested?
The asphalt?
No, the
Oh.
red dirt.
Yes, the red dirt has all been tested, yes, sir.
Okay, and then the base on top, the Class 7, that's what was not tested?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
So, yeah, the base was all tested, the subgrade was all tested, the red dirt. The base, we watched it go in, I think we tested the first lift on it, so the first 6 inches, we had another 6 inches on top of that. It's the final lift that was not tested. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thanks, Greg.
Perfect. Greg, I didn't know if you wanted to go through any of the hangar development, or if you wanted to save that for another meeting.
You can go ahead and go through it, since we didn't meet last month, make sure everybody's caught up.
Yep, so this is an exhibit, you guys should all have it in front of you right now, and we've all discussed this previously. I think during previous conversations about it, I think I got some feedback about updating some of the budgets that I have on here, but really the important part about this is kind of showing the potential hangar locations that we can look at, and then the costs associated with each of them. And so I've got the cost shown in the top right, and then I have some of these hangar development locations shown throughout the airport on this. In the bottom right of the screen, you can see the cyan and the red. Those are just expansions of that little fourplex of hangars that we did at the East Hangar, the city-owned East Hangar back in 2021 or so. And so we could actually copy that same fourplex of hangars 2 more times there on the east side before we run out of space. So those are 2 opportunities there on the east side for expansion. And then moving on the west side, we've talked about the 2 hangars, the 60 by 50 and the 50 by 50 there by the elementary school. Those are 2 options as well. However, the issue with a lot of the west side is fire flow. We don't have a lot of water lines running in that area, unlike the east side, which has water lines running all the way up Highway 265. The water lines on the west side are just running along Powell. And so the issue that we had with a lot of these projects is we'd have to extend 200 or 300 feet of water line just to put a hydrant there so that we can meet building code and have a fire hydrant for fire suppression. And so that is one item that is not included in the cost for each of these. So for example, I've got a 60 by 50 box hangar. That's the first line here. I'm estimating that at about $530,000. So that only includes the box hangar and some of the site work around it, but does not include the water and sewer improvements. One thing that I have been throwing around is if we did want to go after one of these hangars and target it for development, we could start thinking now, maybe a couple years ahead of that, of going ahead and doing a water project where we just extend water lines to some of these key locations. We could probably do a $250,000 grant with the state and knock out 2 or 3 of these water lines that could support future hangar development. And so that's how I'd recommend tackling that rather than doing one hangar at a time. It looks like that disappeared on me, but.
I think I like that idea, and just to make sure we're all clear, no federal grants will go towards that, right? Only state grants.
Only state grants will go towards the water line. For some of these hangars, since we got upgraded to national, some of that money can be used for hangars now that we have an excess of it.
Right, but I'm just talking water.
Yes, sir.
And so with the new school going in there, it'd be ideal to be able to visit with the water department and see if maybe we could work together with them and split cost. I don't know if they're gonna upgrade the line or not, but I've talked to them a little bit, but it's just wait and see.
Right. And James, was it a conversation that I had with you where you said they're not gonna do water work there, or was that not you? Oh. I heard from someone that there wasn't gonna be a water extension with that, but maybe it's worth revisiting, so.
Question about that.
Yes, sir.
Are you talking about Powell Street or inside for a water line? At one time, we were talking about Powell being upgraded and they were gonna put new water line in there. Are they still gonna do that and upsize that line?
It's
I don't
already
know if it's
started.
upsized, but usually when we widen the road, the water department comes through and improves service as well.
And that's a Garver project that I've got our water team looking into that for us. So what they're waiting for is that project to move a little bit further, and then they're gonna look at updating our, I know you understand this stuff a lot better than me, but their water pressure model for that area so that we can check pressure at each points on the airport. Because there are actually two issues with water at the airport. With some of these hangars, we can't get a hydrant close enough because the water line doesn't extend far enough, and then some of our hydrants don't have enough flow or enough pressure at them to support if there was a fire. And so the extension of, or not the extension, the rehabilitation of Powell, if it increases those lines, it should solve some of our pressure and flow issues, but it won't solve a hydrant not being close enough to some of these hangars.
And that's,
And the size of the line from Powell Street to that fire hydrant's gotta be big enough too.
Correct.
That may be part of an issue.
And so, once that Powell project goes a little bit further, I've got our engineers waiting to run that analysis for us and report back to me.
Sounds like that project needs to happen sooner rather than later.
And James, I don't know the status of it, where it's at in design. Are you familiar enough with it?
I think it's almost fully designed.
Okay.
Stall point is the railroad. So they don't like the design.
Okay.
We can't get them to the table yet. But we're supposed to have the road built by 27.
And some more items to consider on the second sheet there. These are just additional hangar locations. The previous hangars were just box hangars, and those can only be rented to one entity and then maybe subleased to have multiple aircraft in them. And so this option is to cater to more of the general aviation pilot that just has one plane. So T hangars, you can see there's a couple different, or say 3 or 4 different options here where we can expand an existing T hangar. Now the downside of this is these will also need water hydrants extended to them just to bring them up to code. Obviously, other downsides is they're going to take up apron space for those 2 on the right side of the exhibit, and then take up maybe some future development space for those 2 on the left side of the exhibit.
does a clear span need water?
Let me pull that up. You're talking about this little 3-bay clear span right here? That one I'd have to check because there should be a hydrant with that milestone hangar that's right next to it, and so I'll have to check the distances on that one. If that one did need water, it'd be a short enough branch of water that I wouldn't worry about the cost on that too much.
Yeah, 'cause I think it's 75 foot, and I think that should be close enough.
I thought there was some grade issues over there that there was probably not a possibility that we could even put hangars there.
Yeah, I can't recommend the clear span hangar. I'd probably say we should look at every other option first for 2 reasons. One, if we ever wanted to get access to that ATCO building, this is going to be the location that we need to cut through. So if this hangar is here, that's exactly where we need a taxi lane for access. And 2, because of what Cameron said, we have some water surface elevation issues that definitely make me nervous, and I'm not sure if they could be overcome. And what I wouldn't want to do is to start, get a grant for that project, start designing it, and then hit a wall with, okay, we got to stop because the water surface elevation issue can't be overcome.
What about a clear span down south of the detention pond?
Yep. So where the 70 by 70 hanger is here, we could replace that with a clear span similar to that one there that's labeled as a 3-bay there at the top. That's really wide open for development as long as it stays low enough in height.
From an aircraft standpoint, what gives us the bigger bang for our buck to get more aircraft in that?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Daniel how many planes he could fit in a 60 by 60 or 70 by 70 hangar.
6.
Oh,
But he's talking about big airplanes. Yeah.
Probably 4 big ones on a 70 by 70.
So, yeah.
Small planes, 6. But if you give me that hangar, I'm not putting a small plane in it.
I wouldn't either.
oh, go ahead.
That might go with anybody who goes in that hangar.
Mhm.
On a sublease, they're going to split it with somebody with a citation, not 6 guys with Cessnas.
Yep.
And I think these clear span hangars, the doors on them are about, we can go anywhere between 42, 50 feet on them, but I figure those are going to be 1 plane per bay.
The current hangars that are there, just to the, I guess, north of where you have your drawing, I know some of the people that own planes in there, and they'll have anywhere from 2 to 3, depending on the size of the plane, in the current footprint that's there already.
Yeah, you keep the hangars too small for a citation, but you'd be able to get 3 planes in there, depending on the size.
Cameron, do you know what type of aircraft those are? So
Yeah, most of them are like single-engine aircraft.
what I can do is I don't know, I can't zoom in enough to see what, I think this looks like maybe a Baron or a King Air or something in one of those. So I can put a single engine in it and see how many we can squeeze in there and get
Yeah,
back to you.
especially if you got a high wing and a low wing.
High wing, low wing, you can fit 3 in there really easy.
So I'm not clear on it. You're talking about the hangar that's already existing, that's just north of that drawing?
Yeah, so the hangars that are existing just to the north of his drawing, there's, I think, maybe 6 hangars there, James?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's about 6. And, yeah, he's mapping it out right there. So there's 6 free span hangars there, so that means it's not a T hangar, it's just an open box.
Clear span.
Clear span, excuse me. So they're about,
48 by 40.
yeah, 48 by 40, and they can fit up to 3 airplanes in those, each one of those. So there's 6 hangars, 3 airplanes in each. Mhm.
Oops, I don't see any parking outside this fence. How are we going to, I mean, we're getting all these extra planes and all these hangars. Where are these people going to park their cars?
Yeah, obviously for the clear span, we've got this parking spot here, but like I said, I can't recommend us going forward with that one. So if we were to copy that same clear span design over here, I'd have to look at it. I mean, honestly, what I can do, I can bring to the next meeting, I could throw a clear span on here, try to throw 3 planes in it, like Cameron mentioned, and see if I can squeeze some space for parking.
Would there be enough on the west side of that?
On the west side of the hangar? That, I think maybe. It depends. I'd have to just look at we can't get too close to the runway before we hit the building restriction line, and then we've got that detention pond there. So I'm really limited kind of squeezing this into that area there. And if not, I mean, there might be some other areas over here that we could look at for potentially doing some parking that are off-site, I guess. I'll look into it. So I'll take that as an action item to bring to you guys next week or next month.
So even as we're talking about growth and development of more hangars, we're talking about growth and development of more in-fence parking, which is contrary to the first conversation that we had, which was security.
Did you say in-fence parking? No, it would need to be out-of-fence parking.
Yeah, this would have to be out.
That'll
It would
be
have to be
out-of-fence.
out-of-fence parking.
Okay, very good.
Is there a particular problem with people that pull into their hangar, pull their airplane out, park inside the hangar while they're flying?
No. I don't have a problem with it.
That's what I
There's
see
not-
in most of the
There's
small
not a
teams.
problem with it if they do that. We've had problems with people not doing that. That's what the problem has been.
I
And then
think
you get
that's
the
what we
people-
encourage, is them to do that, but then they say we have to park and move an expensive piece of equipment and then change vehicles again. So they just don't, and we have issues.
Well, they also don't pay attention when they come in there with their cars, pay attention to airplanes. And you got more airplanes inside that area. And these guys with their cars, they're not paying attention to what air traffic is.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else. What I'll bring back next time, I'll bring the same exhibit. I'll also probably bring a zoomed-in version of us looking at this clear span area, and I'll try to sniff out if there's any other issues that I could foresee with that area as well.
I had one other thing. So you've got a box up there with an X through it.
Yep.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit?
Yeah, this one right.
'Cause that's an opportunity, I think. I just don't know, with future plans with the ATCO building and all that stuff, if that would even be an opportunity or not.
I think it could still be an opportunity. I know it has water issues as well. There's not a hydrant near that one. And Greg, I know someone was interested in this spot at one point. Was it the water issues that turned them away?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a really big expense. It's not feasible to build a hangar there and pay for the water.
If you consider the future need of more fuel storage, that could pose an issue for spacing.
Yeah.
Well, and, I mean, I understand that, Daniel, but back to that hangar, potentially, that's what started our conversation with potentially getting a state grant to extend water lines. So that may be an option to, I mean, that's a great place for a hangar
Right.
right there.
And so this theoretical water line project, and I'll run the numbers on how many linear feet. I have ran them before, but that was three or 4 months ago. But I'll see if we can get enough length to maybe do this project to enable this area here, and then enable either one or both of these box hangars on the kind of the northwest side as well.
I think it's time, I'll speak for the commission, but let me know if you disagree. We've talked about this, we probably ought to go back and get a priority list of where we want to go and when we want to put them in.
I was almost going to say that because I was sitting here, why are we not looking back over on the east side again as a city wanting to take on, another hangar over there on that side where we've got water, we've got, we've got grant money we can use, and more of it now, why would we not entertain looking back over on the east side again?
I do like that. To me, the downside to that is you're not going to get as many aircraft in over here as you would on the west side.
So you're gonna look for a clear span hangar where we have the 70 by 70 box hangar. You're gonna look and see feasibility of that.
Yes, sir.
What is, is you have some drawings where you're extending T hangars here. What kind of cost is associated with that?
T hangars are about $110 a square foot. And so, just looking at some of these are all about 4,500 square feet. Maybe this one at the top up here is 5,000 square feet, so.
Well, doesn't this go back to a water issue for every one of these there's a water issue for every one of these,
Correct. And so, after I did the math, Micah, there, you're looking at one of those could be a $400,000 or $500,000 T-hanger expansion project just for the building, and then probably another $100,000 to get the water out there. That's just a gut call right now.
Could we potentially get a state grant to cover more than one water project?
We can get a state grant for this year, so for 2025, and then the state's fiscal year ends in July 1st. So we could go from now to July, we could try to get a state grant for one water project. We could come back and get another grant next year for that not for the same water project, for a continuation of that water project if we wanted to.
What's the max that we can get?
I've got it shown on here. For an 80-20 grant, a $300,000 cap is the most that you'll get, and that's 80-20, so.
So that's what I'm thinking out loud of is if we have one extension that's $100,000, can we put 2 or 3 together to
Yes.
use that?
Yep, so I envision, let's try to spend $350,000 and see how many spaces we can make available with that $350,000 or whatever $1,000. That's how I envision this, this water line enabling project, I guess is what I'll call it, enabling the construction of hangars.
What's the commission's thoughts on that?
I like it.
I like it too.
Is the 300,000 the state's cap, or is this 300,000 the project cap?
300,000 is the state's cap, so we'll end up, I don't want to do the math right now, but 350, 330, something like that is what the total project will be. Now, I don't want to, I do think we need to go to the ADA before July 1st. So maybe start looking at it March through July, but what I don't want to do is I would like to wait for that Powell project to wrap up so that we can see what the data says on that area. Because what I don't want to do is commit us to a project and then find out that the flow still is an issue and there's extending these hydrants won't do us any good. So let me follow back up with our engineers and our team who's leading that project to see, you know, when it's going to go to construction or what the next deadlines on it are, and to see if we can go ahead and run some of that analysis.
And do we need the water department involved with this?
I have all the data, because Garver has designed that Powell project as well. So they have the data that they need to run it. I think the only involvement we need from the water department is if that data tells us that we're still undersized and have an issue, then we need to go talk to the water department and see if they can increase their 12-inch line to a 16-inch line or something like that. Yep. Yes, yeah. So I intend to both model the expansion of the line under Powell, and then whatever this project turns into, we can go ahead and model, you know, the linear feet and the angles in that so that we can estimate what the flow is there. And then I'll take that, confirm with Ed Stith with the building department to make sure he's okay with the fire flow that we got there. Sorry, say it again. Who sets it? Ed Stith, the fire marshal, is who has given us our regulation, our rules on that so far. And that kind of came up in the Powell project, the Powell Hangar project now, and then all of those other projects along the Powell Hangar development kind of there are all being scrutinized under the same rules.
So as I understand it, we need to do the water work first before we can do any of these real expansions that we're talking about, with the exception of maybe replacing the 70 by 70 with the clear span hangar. The FAA AIG grant that we have, can it be used to, as Cameron suggested, be the Teal project and do the site work for the Teal project and potentially even pay for a hangar there? Can we work on both sides of the?
Yes, the AIG money can be used for a hangar, can also be used for the taxi lane there as well. So the AIG money does have a little bit more rules than the state's money, but I believe we should be able to get everything we need on that. I think maybe parking, maybe they wouldn't do parking for the hangar on the east side, but that's a question I can pose to them as well. But we could also pair it with a state grant and use a state grant for the parking if we wanted to.
What are your guys' thoughts on doing something on the east side in that Teal area, getting
I like
that
it.
started?
My only hesitation is I don't want to cut our throat if the Air National Guard comes here and we need money to spend on that side. And that would,
On the east side to make it accessible to their hangar that we're thinking for, right?
on the west side,
Sorry, west side.
right.
Okay, we don't want to use up the money in case we need it on the west side.
Right. And so the AIG money, we've got, 1.5 million-ish that we have to spend, and we've got 3 or 4 years to spend it. And once we spend all that, it's gone. But the state money, we can go to them every fiscal year and ask for each one of these 90-10, 80-20, and 50-50 grants. And so that's where I was saying, before July 1st, if I can get you guys back some of this data, then we can get one before July 1st and then get another one next fiscal year. And then the idea is let's try to use maybe the 90-10 and the 80-20 every year, and that's probably the best bang for your buck as far as developing.
Good. Anything else? James, I wanted to go back with the hangar, the PAL hangar. Have we communicated with Tommy Lee and his crew to let them know when that's going to be available and we got a contract ready to go and everything?
Yeah, he's very interested to get in there, and it's just some delays with, like, the electricians. So, no, he's ready for as soon as we can get him in there. So, as soon as we get our OCO, he's in.
And we're thinking beginning of March?
Yes, I think we'll need 2 or 3 weeks to finish up the water line. I think we'll do our final inspection on the hangar to check some of those electrical items that I mentioned in 2 or 3 weeks, and then I bet we'll need time to get the city back out there to give us the certificate of occupancy, and then a little bit of time for them to do any final punch list items in the hangar as well. So I agree.
It's costing us money.
On a separate note, the chamber shared the Milliken rating, and Springdale Metroplex is ranked 7th again, which is Springdale, Fayetteville, and Rogers, for best performing cities. And they predict Springdale being the largest city in Northwest Arkansas in 20 years with 154,000 residents. So that was just sent out yesterday or the day before.
Cool. Any old business? Comments from commissioners? We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.